In the busy city center, there was a hospital called St. Michael's. Here, life and death were always close by in the narrow hallways and clean rooms. I'm Dr. Sarah. My life at the hospital was very different from my life at home with my husband, John. Our marriage used to be happy, filled with laughter and dreams. But things had slowly changed, and I was dealing with a reality I never expected. As a well-respected surgeon at St. Michael's, my days and nights were filled with the constant demands of my job. The hospital was a safe haven for me, a place where I could focus on saving lives and forget about the growing problems with John, even if only for a short time. Our love story began within the hospital walls. We met by chance, talking over patient charts and during coffee breaks. Our love felt strong, like it could overcome any difficulty. But lately, John seemed far away. He wasn't as warm and friendly anymore. He worked late at the office a lot and made secret phone calls, thinking I wouldn't notice. Then came the message that broke my heart. It was a picture from someone I didn't know, showing John with another woman. It was a terrible betrayal, much worse than any injury I'd ever seen in the operating room. In the days that followed, I worked even harder than before, if that was even possible. The hospital hallways, filled with the sounds of people fighting to survive, became my hiding place. I did my job automatically, talking to colleagues and patients in a professional way that hid my inner turmoil. At home, conversations with John were tense, with long silences and questions left unsaid. I wanted to yell at him, to demand answers, but fear held me back. I feared the truth, what it meant for our marriage and the life we'd built together. I remember the evening I discovered John's betrayal vividly. I was late at the hospital, its demands pulling every ounce of my attention. By the time I left, the night had wrapped the city in its quiet, indifferent embrace. Driving home, my phone buzzed. Expecting another message from John about working late, I glanced at it. It wasn't from him. An unknown number had sent a message. Curiosity overcame caution, and I opened it at the next red light. The photo loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, like a digital taunt. There it was, John unmistakably close to a woman I didn't recognize. The message beneath was simple, just 2 words, but they hit as hard as a physical blow. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen, the light turning green unnoticed. The honks behind me jolted me back to reality. I drove home in a daze. The image burned into my mind, every detail seared into my memory. At home, the apartment was dark and silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint sounds of the city. I sat at the kitchen table, my phone lying there like an accusation. My mind raced with questions and scenarios, but the damning evidence left no room for escape. The clock blinked at 1 a.m. John still wasn't home. The silence in our apartment screamed louder than any argument could. I held a hotel receipt I had found earlier. It bore John's name, dated 2 days back, with a scrawled lipstick note on the back. Room 4002. Don't be late, darling. The confrontation was inevitable. Cold fury replaced the desperate hope clinging to me. Snatching my keys, I drove to the hotel. Each step toward the entrance felt heavier, my legs trembling. The heavy doors whooshed open, revealing a scene that stole my breath. There stood John, his arm around a beautiful woman, their laughter scraping against my raw heart. Jealousy, sharp and ravenous, roared to life. Fury consumed me. My slap across her face echoed through the lobby, silencing their laughter. Ignoring John's shouts, I bolted for my car, desperate to escape the nightmare. But fate had other plans. The brakes failed as I slammed on them. My car careened out of control, crashing into a roadside fence. Silence descended, a stark contrast to the chaos moments before. As the ambulance sirens grew closer, my vision blurred. Memories of John's proposal and his vows filled my mind before darkness took over. Update. 6 months later, I woke up in a strange hospital bed. Next to me sat Jenny, my closest friend from high school. Relief and sadness filled her eyes as she explained everything. John had been following me that night. He witnessed the crash but didn't come to my aid. Instead, he called an ambulance from a distance and left the scene with the woman from the hotel. While I lay unconscious in the hospital, he continued his affair, using my savings to buy a luxury apartment for them. Betrayed and furious, I began my journey of recovery. After the divorce, John's life spiraled downward. I ensured his professional reputation was tarnished through carefully placed whispers. Despite my anger, I realized I needed to move forward. John's downfall was inevitable. His lover, Kathy, betrayed him as well, leaving him alone and broken. Their child, a fleeting hope, was lost to illness, and John was left to face the ashes of his choices. My story doesn't end here. I found strength in starting over, leaving behind the shadows of betrayal. My future is brighter, and I hold my head high, knowing I survived and reclaimed my life.